No, you're not on the wrong channel. Yes, this is a channel about watches. And yet today, we're talking about knives. But not these knives. Rather, these knives. And what's in the box? Well, it's a box full of OPINEL knives. Yeah, welcome to this special episode of Wooden Watch You Don't Need, which we could call Kuden with the K, knife you don't need. Now, knives have already been featured in an episode of my channel, and with this episode I am testing if the topic of knives could be of interest to my usual viewers and or to other viewers. So, depending on how many views this video gets and on how many comments I get about knives, I will make more knives videos in the future. Today, we are going to talk about a knife brand which is so very popular in Europe and all over the world. These knives are quite easy to find in Europe and they are extremely popular in France. If you live in other continents, you might have a harder time getting one of these, but this could be the perfect souvenir when you come to Europe or specifically to France. La France! Vive la France! And I have more of these knives than any other kind of knife. Of course, a sane person in his or her life will need one or two knives for everyday carry, plus, the usual kitchen knives. But if you're watching this, chances might be that you suffer the same illness that I suffer, which is that of, if I like a particular object, I tend to want more of that, even though I know that I will very rarely use more than one of those objects. Now we're talking about OPINEL knives. These are French knives from the area of the Savoie, which is a region in the French Alps. And this knife is very old. I have the brochures here about the history of the knife, which dates back apparently to 1890. And well, there's the whole history of the knife in just this leaflet. This is at least 30 years old. And I also have another copy of the very same leaflet from 30 or 20 something years ago here, just in case the first one gets ruined. Yes, I'm really sick. The OPINEL knife is simply the knife that I carry the most. Also because I am afraid of being caught or searched carrying a knife. It's not that legal in my country, but I always have this very knife with me. This is an OPINEL. It has a number just like every other OPINEL. And this one, if it can focus, is a number 4. I hope it's visible. OPINELs go from number 1, which is very, very, very tiny, up to I think number 12 or even more, which you have like a machete of a folding knife. This is the one that I carry the most because it fits your lighter pocket in my jeans. It's a non-locking knife, as you can see, and its blade is very short. I mean, the average pair of scissors has a longer blade, and so it can be considered more of a deadly tool than this very knife. But despite that, this knife gets so much use that you wouldn't imagine. It's ideal for cutting food. It's ideal for cutting paper and opening boxes. And you can whittle a piece of wood with this one, like a stick with this one. I mean, it gets a lot of usage, and it's super light, and it fits anywhere. So what about the OPINEL knife? Let's see the characteristics. I have them here arranged in a sort of a chronological order. As you can see, this is a knife which it has a very simple construction. This is the oldest one that I have. Of all places, I bought this one in Venice, Italy. As you can see, it has a wooden handle. I think that on the regular models, this is a beech wood handle. It's very light, and then it gets varnished with this kind of yellow amber color. The original model has a pointy blade made of carbon steel, acier au carbone. Now, in the older models, it is not specified if this is carbon steel or if it's stainless steel, whereas in the newer ones, as you can see, it says lame acier au carbone, which means blade in acier is steel, au carbone means carbon. So this one, the regular ones, are made with carbon steel. And why is it specified? Well, to distinguish them from the more sophisticated one, which have a blade made of inox, so stainless steel. And you can see here on the blade it says OPINEL France and then inox, so stainless steel. So the ones who have a stainless steel blade will advertise that on the blade and many times also on the handle. Let's get back to the original one. This is the oldest one. I think the most common model of Opinel is the number 8. As you can see, maybe here it says number 8. This size is ideal. It fits the average hand quite well. The ergonomics of this handle are really awesome. I mean, it feels really good in the hand despite being so very simple. It's a small piece of almost cylindrical wood. It gets a bit slimmer here on the sides. It's got this heel in order for it not to slip too easily from your hands. It also has these angles, which we'll see their use a bit later. After the end of the handle is this piece of rounded steel, and this is called the bague de sécurité, which is the, how should I call it? A sort of security blockage. This is the super simple and yet very clever locking system that these knives have. So when the blade is closed, it's like that. You open it, you flick it open, and then you just turn this ring of steel and the blade locks into place like this. See, it cannot move. You can turn it one way or the other. It's the same. It's locked into place. A simple and beautiful locking mechanism. They come very sharp from the factory. I think that every year, is it in Chambéry, the city where the factory of the Opinel is, they hold a competition on apple peel cutting. The person who can cut the longest apple peel wins, and of course it has to be done with an Opinel knife. Let's see the difference from this model, which is the oldest one that I own, and it has this logo here. I hope it can focus it. From the second oldest one. Now, the locking system is the same, but here it says lame acier au carbone, so carbon steel blade. Just like before, you open it and you lock it. What's the difference between this one and this one? They apparently look the same. The logo is the same. It's the quote-unquote new one, new logo, but the difference is in the locking system. You can see that the older one doesn't have the possibility of locking it closed, locking the blade closed, whereas the newer one has this chance. You can lock your blade closed as well as you can lock your blade open, like this. So that's the difference. As I told you, you have many other numbers. This is a very good size too. This is a number 7. Now I think that the most common size apart from number 8 is the number 6, which is this one. It is of course more on the smaller side. This is an older model. You see that it doesn't have the locking system when the blade is closed, whereas a newer model has the locking system here. And yeah, number 6 is another very common size. This one is smaller, and this is the smallest Opinel with the locking blade, because below number 6, and let's have a look at number 5 here, the blade is non-locking. You have seen my number 4 here. This is a number 5, and the blade is non-locking. You fold it open and you see that the blade is all tarnished because this is carbon steel, and even though I take good care of my blades, it tarnishes with the passing of time, and this is one of the beautiful aspects of these knives. So this one is non-locking. If the wood gets very dry, the blade can be prone to opening because the wood here is not tight. But what you can do, these knives, you can play around a lot with them, so you can just pound here with a hammer. The blade will be tighter in its place. I realized that this video could be 5 hours long because this is just a small percentage of the Opinel knives that I have. Let me put this back into its box. It's not its box. I've lost a lot of Opinel knives along the years. In this box, there was an effilé version of the Opinel, which is a thinner version. The handle and the blade are thinner. This one in this premium box is numero 8. Lux number 8 Deluxe, so to say. I've never used this one. Shame on me. This one has a rosewood handle. You can see that this is a different wood. It's not beech wood, it's rosewood. And the blade, which can be locked both in closed position and open position, apart from being made of stainless steel, inox, as you can see, it's also chromed. So it's very shiny, and I don't know, I think I've used this one a couple of times, and then I put it back in the box because I have plenty of other OPINEL knives laying around. Now, this is by no means, as I was saying, a comprehensive demonstration of all the OPINEL knives that I have. As you can see, I have many others in various colors and shapes. And I also have OPINEL knives that I have modified. There is a really very active OPINEL modding community, and I'm just a clumsy beginner in this field. This is a children knife, you see, with the rounded tip. And if you want to see more OPINEL knives or more knives like the ones you have seen in the first images of this video, you just drop me a comment and I will make a video about them. This has been it for today's episode of Wooden What You Don't Need or Couldn't Knife You Don't Need, and I'll see you on the next. Ciao!